get to the MSC race, one man has all the clues to help you solve your blues. EJ is his name and rockets are his game. Bolder than any man, crazy creations are his plan. Cities, Kerbal, and workers, they are at his command. Oh God, that's all I can think of. Chat bothers him all day and night, but Eej always puts up a fight. Weird impressions, internet memes, EA is always so extreme. I'm not a good songwriter as you can. Turbo stuck in space, well, you're trying to get to the MSC race. One man has all the clues to help you solve your blues. EJ's his name and rockets are his game. Bolder than any man, crazy creations are his plan. Cities, Kerbal, and workers, they all are at his command. I don't know if that's all I can think of. Chat bothers him all day and night, but Eej always puts up a fight. Weird impressions, internet memes, he's always so extreme. I'm not a good songwriter as you can.
Hello, hello, and welcome. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Space and Rocket Review. You two girls, tell your friends. Space and Rocket Review. The Space and Rocket Review. Anybody know what band? That was AI generated music. Yeah, that's the track is called Chill E. E. It's pretty good, right? Yeah. Now, for the record, I'm not really a fan of using AI generated music, but you honestly can't be too careful in this day and age. All it takes is somebody to hear like an A minor note in your stream and they'll be like, well, nope, 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 your whole video is mine. I'm claiming revenue on this because you played an A minor note. So, yeah, I play that because it won't trigger any flags or anything. I call this Solitude in E minor. Yeah, E minor, all right. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? So I started Space News a little bit late today. I usually start about 30 minutes before this, but here we are. I'm trying to wade through a lot of stuff to get a lot of just news here to get to space stuff. I got a good amount of things. Huh? Huh? Yeah, we'll keep that one. All right, so let me organize everything here.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Okay. Try it. What's going on? 7 months. You're stranded with Prime. Oh. Okay, cool. Anyway, so first thing is coming from Firefly Aerospace. We saw the message that they left after Blue Ghost. The Blue Ghost 1 mission went from mission mode to monument mode, right? And then Scott actually asked the question here. Scott Munley. Wonderful way to end the mission. Wonderful way to end the mission. Will there be any attempts to check on it when the sun rises again? Yep. Okay, cool. Hi, Scott, if you ever see this. Anyway, Firefly actually responded, although we don't expect Blue Ghost to survive the lunar night, we'll check back in around April 1st. I don't know if that's not a bad impression when it comes down to it. Yep. Not a bad Scott Manley. Thank you. Scott's a buddy of mine. Good dude. That was a good Scott voice. Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. What can of worms did I just unlock? Crap, I didn't mean to. Whoa, we have an ad time roll. Okay. Yeah, let's just put it right. Let's just do it right now. Yeah, let's just do it right now. There you go. It's just ruin the entire flow of the stream. That's fine. It's great. I love these. You should probably apologize to all these people for ruining the flow of the stream and possibly the evening too. We need the Scott voice during the flame trench. What is the Starship news? No. You must know about this ad. You must know. No, I don't want to tell you. I don't tell you. You have to know. You have to see the ad or something. I redeemed it before the Space and Rocket review to get this done, but there were no mods here. See, I told you they ruined the evening. Yeah, let me know when the ads are done so we can get on with this. Anyone interested in the CRJ crash investigation? We started talking about that when I was playing Workers, and I said I didn't want to talk about it, right? Because I was trying to focus on playing Workers. I know what products I'm not going to buy. Oh, Paul, you do that too? Nice. High five. Got it, no problem. No. I wanted to focus on Workers. We can talk about it, but I had a viewer tell me a little bit about it. Basically, dude, idle at 150. Don't sink at 50 feet with idle throttle. No declared emergency. That's not. Ads done lasted longer than a call from your ex. Damn, man. Damn, ads done. Cool. We need to get that Scott voice during the flame trench. Suppose you're gonna take a trip to the Andes. But you're wondering why we call them the Andy. They're both named Andrew. They said you were good. I don't know how Scott moved into Hot Fuzz, but hey, whatever. I need to watch the latest from the NTSB stream on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Yep. Chat, should I redeem ad time? What was the investigation all about? So that the preliminary investigation was released by the Canadian Transportation Safety Board about a CRJ 700 that was on approach to runway 23 at Toronto Pearson in Canada about a month ago. Okay, here, hold on. Here, this is the video. Here, let me show you. So hold on. Just get the background music there. Okay. So this was the approach, supersonic. Yeah, this one. So watch.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck!
Sorry for the bad words. That is not how you do that. That is in fact not the right way to do that at all. Basically what the preliminary investigation found is pretty much right around here, right there, they backed out of the throttle, which, if anybody's a pilot, that's a big no-no. Pulling your engines back like that, basically idling the engines when you're about 150 off the deck, yeah, that, no, don't try to land, because from here you're gonna stall over the runway. Yeah, don't do that. And I mean, the reason why you shouldn't do that is because of this right here, like, because it stalled and it, you know, yep, crashed. 3.8 G impact. Don't sink alarm 50 feet AGL. That's... Dudes, I don't know what's going on the flight deck of that plane, but a good landing is not one of those things that's being performed here. The pilot was fighting crosswinds. You could see how far right the nose was from the center of the runway. Yeah. Yeah, we know that the plane was out of limit, Tricks. This on a contaminated runway, you see the snow blowing across the runway. On a contaminated runway, CRJ 900's crosswind limits are below 30 knots, and the winds were gusting up to 33 that day. So, just, I mean, thank God nobody was hurt. Yeah, this is I don't know if this is pilot inexperience or, you know, bad training or whatever. We don't know the result. Either way, like, that's not... This should have been a go-around, right? At this point right here. If you're idling the engines when you're not, like, right about to touch the deck, just pull out. Just throttle that thing up, go try again. Thankfully, the only thing that broke, the only thing that died was the airplane. That CRJ 700 is not even good for spare parts. Just write it off. Not sure what the co-pilot was doing. Co-pilot was new. Yeah, we don't know who was on board or et cetera, like what the pilots were doing. If it's, I mean, this kind of reeks of inexperience, but who knows? We'll wait for the investigation to come out, but the preliminary findings basically are just saying what the plane did. Basically, you stalled it. This stalled over the runway, stalled way too high off the runway. That's an amateur mistake. But then again, it's an amateur mistake, but when I say amateur, I don't mean, that doesn't mean to imply that somebody that, you know, doesn't know how to fly an airplane or somebody that's like brand new. Landing in these conditions, even though it doesn't look too bad, it looks like a pretty nice day. Landing in these conditions with a crosswind on the runway, with a contaminated runway, is challenge level, highest difficulty. Even an experienced pilot, somebody with tons of hours on a CRJ, would have trouble sticking this one. There's a hard landing condition for that plane. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens with the rest of the report. But yeah, the plane hit the runway at 1,200 feet per minute, which caused the right wing, the landing gear, to basically compact up into the right wing and snap it off completely right there. Nobody died, guys. Yep. Yeah. Right. Not great. Not good. The only reason I'm even showing you guys this is because nobody died. I really have a problem showing death on stream, even if like covering it from like a contextual, factual basis, like for educational purposes. I have a problem profiting off death. Remember, this stream is for profit, right? Like I stream to pay the bills. So the only reason I'm even showing this or even talking about it is because nobody died. No one got hurt, which, once again, praise the guy up there, upstairs. Like, it's a miracle that no one died from that. But yeah, preliminary findings seems to show very erratic and odd behavior for trying to land in these conditions. Yeah, maybe the pilot's a Navy pilot. Yep. Cabin crew did an amazing job. Yep. Even proper knowledge for any pilot, it's their choice to land and make a mistake. Yeah, outdoorsman, it's up to the pilot at the end of the day, and yeah. I'd said during workers that, you know, it's up to you at the end of the day, but you have to factor in that you have 100 souls sitting behind you. And that should play into your judgment at all, right? That should play into your judgment a little bit, don't you think? But, yeah, I mean, everybody got out okay, so that's good, but we'll see where the rest of the findings take us. The preliminary findings don't bode well for the people flying this thing. But we don't know what caused this. We're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. So going back to Firefly before we were rudely interrupted by ads. Firefly said they're going to try to establish contact with Blue Ghost on April Fool's Day. I don't know if they're kidding or not, or if that's serious or whatever, but we'll see. I wonder if Blue Ghost is going to survive the lunar night. Now, I know what people are saying. What they can't survive darkness? Darkness on the moon is very different than nighttime here. First of all, the lunar night lasts the lunar night lasts about 2 weeks. Second of all, the rover is solar powered, so or the lander is solar powered, so night, solar power. And then on top of that, the thermal conditions at night are insane. It goes to like minus 200 on the surface because, no sunlight. No sunlight, no atmosphere to hold heat, no nothing. So it's actually pretty brutal. We'll see if it survives. There have been landers in the past that have survived lunar night. Slim did, a Japanese mission. The Slim lander survived the night after blowing up one of its engines on landing and tipping over and crashing into the ground head first to make it look like a Kerbal thumbnail. But yeah, it's absolutely possible. We'll see. We'll wait and see what happens. Maybe dumb question. How were surveyors powered? How did they survive? They were solar powered as well, Shaw. They're really not designed to survive the night. But that doesn't make a difference when you go and send somebody up there to go and get the parts off of them. When are you going to Mars? What is your guess? Next decade. People have said stuff like, why not add an RTG? But I don't think people realize the US only has like 3 RTGs left because of a lack of plutonium cost and weight. Plutonium production was restarted in 2018, Archie. It was an executive order by then president, still president now, the incumbent right now. We'll get more, but yeah, RTGs are hard to produce. If you want an RTG to work, you need to make nukes. They're made on the same production line, so to speak. That looked like a yeez. Nice. Computer has now been rock solid stable with a new power supply. Good. But yeah, in case anybody didn't know, surveyors were solar powered. They didn't really last very long on the surface. But that doesn't matter, if you send someone to go and get the science collected. I don't know if you guys know this. If you're not too privy to spaceflight or the Apollo program or history, Apollo 11 in July 1969 was the first lunar landing, right? Neil Buzzard stepping off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Right? Not a lot of people know that Apollo 12 landed in 1969. They did it twice in 1969. Apollo 12. Now, because Neil took manual control of the Eagle and piloted that thing down by hand, with Apollo 12, they wanted to test precise landing. They wanted to test precision landing to make sure that you could land next to something precisely. Like, I don't know, in the future, maybe if you have a lunar base. They wanted to land something precisely and see if the computer could do it, right? So that's what they did. Apollo 12 landed next to Surveyor 3. And they got out and got parts off of it and then came back. Which is really, really cool. Pretty cool. Sorry, I'm yawning a lot because I just scarfed a bunch of food. I'm like, ah. So, yeah, that's pretty neat. Surveyor was solar powered, but it didn't need to last very long. Because when somebody goes and grabs the parts off of it, you don't worry about not getting it back. Anyway, so, we have an update from ESAR. Here, check this out. ESAR Aerospace is a European, a German launch provider, a private German launch provider. And we got an update from them. Launch period for the test flight mission Going Full Spectrum begins today. Follow us for updates on the launch window via the ISAR newsroom. And there's a picture of their rocket up at the Endoya Space Center being moved on an SPMT, which is nice. Nice. It looks good. Was the MayaSpace update just a new customer announcement? I don't know off the top of my head. I have no idea. Oh, they signed a commercial contract with Space Tug Builder Exotrail for multiple space van servicing missions starting as early as 2027. Yeah, it's just contracts, which is kind of cool. I mean, getting ICBM vibes. That ESAR vehicle looks to be about the size of Electron. If I'm looking at that right, it looks very similar. ESAR, named after the Austro-Bavarian River running through Munich into the Danube River. It is a German company, Everest, so, I mean, yeah. ESAR have indicated they won't be live streaming the launch. That's what I've heard, Psycho, which kind of sucks, but hey, whatever. You getting Electron vibes? It looks to be about the same size, dudes, from what I can tell, but anyway. Good stuff, good stuff. So, we got some updates here from Tori Bruno. He showed, by popular demand, here's some cool pictures from inside ULA's Decatur, Alabama rocket factory. Oh, hello. Nice. The more keen-eyed people here will spot the Centaur 5 LEO optimized version. That's kind of a stubby Centaur 5. If you look, that's the full-size ones that have flown. Right, but you got a little stubby one right there. 28 meters tall, 1 ton to LEO. Oh, it's a little bit bigger than Electron, Phil. Cool, cool, cool. We need to go down there. I got family down there. Okay. Neat. So this is the Centaur processing area. That's an LEO optimized Centaur 5 right there. Notice it's, like I said, it's stubby. It's a short boy. With 2 BE4s become BE8. Sure. Is the Leo one stronger? It's not stronger. It makes the same amount of thrust, but it has less fuel, but it also has less mass. So you can do a higher energy transfer with it. The regular physics way of saying that is that second stage is good for putting heavy stuff into low Earth orbit. The stage on the right is good for putting lighter stuff into higher Earth orbits. Does that make sense? So you're telling me it's a stubby stage? Yeah. Yep. SpaceX has stubby nozzle. ULA has stubby stage. There's also a Centaur 3 right there. That's Atlas V's Centaur upper stage. What happened to Centaur 4? I don't know. Look, it's not there. See? That's what happened. We don't know. We don't know what happened. So there's Centaur 3, there's Centaur 5, and Centaur 5. I don't know. Can't explain what happened. I don't know. That's all I can think of. Chat bothers him all day and night, but EJ always puts up a fight. No? When your Kerbals stuck in space, but you're trying to get to the MSC race. No? I had that song stuck in my head yesterday after the stream. I'm not happy about that. Balder than any man. I'm not a good songwriter, as you can. Or not, we need to write songs that just end mid-sentence. Okay. Monsterfish? I don't know. Weird impressions, internet memes. Sorry. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, really, really awesome pictures. This is the first stage. You can see Atlas V. The Atlas V production is on the left. And then Vulkan. We got a lot of Vulkans in the processing flow here. That's pretty good, man. Yeah, you're right, Matt. That's I'm seeing at least 3 Vulkan cores there, which is pretty good, man. Pretty good. Getting into Bill Nelson territory here. Well, I'll tell you, the proof is in the pudding, and I think I got a bowl of chocolate pudding down my pants. What? What does that say? Low chance you're allowed to answer this, but what's the hardware near the aft end of the raceway? Fluid management. Bikes! Anyway, nice bike. So, Tori Bruno actually posted more pictures here, too. Oh, hello. You cheated. Bro, I modeled an Atlas V, okay? It's the fluid management systems. Every version of Atlas has had this fluid management system on the side. That goes back to like the original Atlas. It's always on the side there, which is very weird, but hey, whatever. RD180. Nice. What's the big tube on the side? That is an external downcomer. One of the biggest differences between all the other Atlas rockets and Atlas V is that Atlas V uses a aluminum intertank isogrid design. This was cutting edge. This is a really big deal in the 90s. So, in order to keep the costs down, right? This was Lockheed at the time, and Convair by proxy. So they came up with this idea of using anodized aluminum instead of the stainless steel construction of past Atlases had used, but they kept the stainless steel for the Centaur. So Atlas V, if you look, is made of 3 barrel segments. 1, 2, and 3. Honk, honk. Right? And then they have forward skirts on the back of the LOX tank and the top of the RP1 tank. If you look, the LOX tank is just 2 of these. It made production a lot easier for these things. Because Atlas V, like Delta IV, was designed to be mass-produced. And they never did that because the launch market crashed in the late 90s. So, because they went with this intertank design, meaning that the top of the LOX tank is not the bottom of the RP, or the top of the RP1 tank is not the bottom of the LOX tank. They have an intertank design. You get an intertank adapter right here, which is what that forward skirt is that I was talking about. And at the bottom of the LOX tank, the line curves, goes down around the RP1 tank and down into the RD180. They basically did this as opposed to like an internal downcomer, right? Which means the LOX line goes directly through the center of the tank and pops down here. They did that because it makes manufacturing it easier. You just manufacture this and then those and you're good to go. The whole point was, once again, in anticipation that they were going to make a lot of these things. That never happened because, once again, the launch market crashed. Lockheed Lockheed Martin, Convair, Boeing, and McDonnell Douglas all basically folded and left the launch, tried to leave the launch, like the launch market all at once. And the government said, hell no. And said, no, make one company and we'll pay you to launch this stuff because we need to launch things into space. And also the government caught Boeing spying on Lockheed, by the way. Yeah, fun fact. So that's actually how ULA was formed in the first place. Yeah, so this was designed to, it was designed to keep manufacturing down, make it easier to make it. Yeah, that's the LOX line right there. That's fluid management systems and electronics too. So why is the RD-180 two nozzled but one engine? That's a good question. So the RD-180 is a oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle. One of the big things that you got to know is that with an oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle, the motor makes insane amounts of heat. Why is that? Well, you're basically, using liquid oxygen, they basically spray way more liquid oxygen into their into the combustion chamber, way more than fuel. So you get a lot more liquid oxygen going into, it's gaseous oxygen by the time it gets there. You get a lot more going in there. Now that gets you a very efficient explosion because if you're spraying way more liquid oxygen, then you're spraying way more RP1. All of the liquid oxygen can combine with all of the RP1. And you get a very efficient explosion. You also get a very powerful explosion. You know, engines that use RP1 or kerosene, which is basically what RP1 is, jet fuel, are usually kind of inefficient because of the nature of hydrocarbons, right? So like take Falcon, for instance, all that soot. You don't see that with Atlas V, but then again, they're not reusing them either. You don't see it roll coal like other rockets does because what that engine does is basically take the liquid oxygen, turn it into gas through a preburner, right? And then have all that spread out gas get put into, have RP1 sprayed into it and then blown out the bottom. Now, I know you asked, why two nozzles then? Well, that generates tons of heat. Oxygen doesn't absorb heat very well. It's not very good at that. So any excess oxygen that you have, you're just going to shoot out the bottom, right? And that's why you get like the yellow, super yellow flames coming out of the bottom of this thing. And the motor has to get rid of all that heat. So the way that they do it is running the liquid oxygen through. They run the liquid oxygen through the nozzles and stuff. But an easier way to understand this is that they have two nozzles because two nozzles can dissipate the heat better. That's an easier way to say it, I guess. All the heat. There's two nozzles because of all the heat. If they had one big nozzle, it would melt it. Yeah. And I know that wait, wouldn't one nozzle be way more surface area? Well, there is a one nozzle variant of the RD-180. It's called an RD-191. But remember, like I said, they're putting liquid oxygen through these things. They put the liquid oxygen there. It gets turned to gas. Then it gets shot into a preburner. And the preburner has RP1 sprayed in there. And it turns any leftover liquid oxygen into complete gas, and then from the preburner it goes right into the combustion chamber with the main pump from the RP1. Oxygen rich stage combustion. It runs extremely hot. Better to spread the heat over two nozzles. Remember, this is not a passive cooling system either. It is they use the liquid oxygen. They run LOX through the nozzles to keep them cool. It's easier to run it through two small nozzles than it is one big nozzle. They'll have trouble keeping it cool with one nozzle. With that being said, like I said, the RD-180 does have a single nozzle variant called the RD-191. But if you notice, the RD-191 only has one nozzle, and the nozzle is the exact same size. Because this is a highly detuned version of an RD-180. They cut it in half. There's also a 4-nozzle variant, believe it or not, called the RD-170, which flew on Energia Buran, which is 4 nozzles. So the way the Russians do this is they scale it. Everything is scaled. So this has the biggest power pack in it, so to speak, that can feed 4 nozzles. The RD-180 power pack is quite actually half of this. It's half the size. And then the RD-191 is a quarter of the size. Yeah. Russians. That makes sense. Yeah, RD-170s are insane. They're quite big. They're quite a big engine. That is the most powerful liquid fuel engine ever flown, right there. That's the strongest one. It's about 7,000 kilonewtons of thrust. That one motor makes almost as much thrust as a Falcon 9 with 9 engines in the first stage. Wait, what's the story of government catching the Boeing spying on Lockheed? The government caught Boeing committing industrial espionage with Lockheed. Bortik. So they forced them to make ULA on top of the launch market collapsing completely. That's how ULA got made. Oh yeah. We never found what I don't think they ever figured out what they were spying on, but that did happen. Why would they run LOX through the nozzle if gaseous LOX has way lower heat capacity? What else are you going to cool the nozzle with, Lava Eagle? Dude, remember, you're running lean here. These oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle engines that are using RP1 and LOX run insanely hot. You're running lean. So what's lean? Lean is very efficient, but you're generating tons of heat because oxygen sucks at absorbing heat. It's terrible. Dude, you'd be better off peeing on it. Forcing them to work together is kind of hilarious. Well, once again, Creation, that was seen as the best option because the launch market collapsed overnight in 1997. It was a reverberation effect of the dot-com bubble bursting. Honk honk. Is ULA funded by all these companies, or is it funded separately? ULA is not. ULA is a private company, okay? It's a private company. What are they funded by? Their parent companies are Boeing and Lockheed, who both own a 50-50 stake in ULA. ULA makes its money, or made its money until Jeff Bezos came along. ULA made its money by launching Department of Defense missions into space. Now, the Department of Defense, for the longest time, and okay, a little bit of a history lesson here. The Department of Defense, for the longest time, paid ULA to keep Slick 37B, Slick 41, Slick 4, and Slick 6 out at Vandenberg, or no, Slick 3 and Slick 6 out at Vandenberg. They paid them to keep those pads operational, despite insanely low demand. Why? Uncle Sam is willing to pay more because the alternative is having no way to get to space. The Department of Defense needs something that's called assured access to space. So they paid ULA contractual service to keep their pads operational, even though on a year-to-year basis they might launch once or twice. This is why it sucked complete donkey nards being a space fan in the 2000s. It was terrible. You'd get one Atlas V and maybe one shuttle mission a year. Sucked. It was terrible. Now, because they wanted redundant dissimilar architecture, they also paid ULA to keep, like I said, Delta and Atlas going. And it's funny because when SpaceX came around, right, 2012, 2013, 2014, they took ULA to court and said, look, you have a monopoly. Elon called it a subsidy, even though it's not. He called it a subsidy because, ULA has no competition. They can just denote the price of the launch and that's it. And they'll have to pay no matter what because they're the only people that can launch stuff into space. So SpaceX took them to court in 2014. And actually, Elon himself went to court and testified. Actually, it was a Senate congressional meeting, but they did take him to court. About how, you know, SpaceX should be able to bid on defense missions. They won. Dude, Elon made the CEO of ULA at that time look so stupid, the board fired him the next day. And then they hired Tory Bruno, and Tory Bruno's been fixing things since, because Tory Bruno's the freaking man. And then you missed the launch due to work. Yep. Yeah, that's what happened, dudes. Tory Bruno's amazing. He's turned that company around crazy. Like, from basically being wholly dependent on the Department of Defense to actually, like, being a profitable launch vehicle company. I mean, Tory Bruno, actually right after that, he partnered with Jeff Bezos. And that's where they came up with using B4 and Vulcan. And, yeah. And then Jeff Bezos bought like 38 Vulcans.
Discovery, go at throttle
For
up.
launching his satellite service. So yeah. ULA is profitable. Very profitable. Because Tory Bruno's the man. Cheers, bot. Hey, what's up, man? 74-month resub. You have to respect the hard hat. You're damn right. Why would running lean increase temperature? It is true that O2 is bad at absorbing heat, but wouldn't you have enough chemical energy in the... But you wouldn't have enough chemical energy in the mixture to release huge amounts of energy. Running lean increases temperature because of the combustion, the leftover hydrocarbons because of a byproduct of hydrocarbons being inherently inefficient but very energetic during combustion. You get a lot of carbon emissions with something using RP1. Those carbon emissions absorb all the heat. That's why, for instance, the gas generator on a Merlin runs extremely fuel rich. Because a passive cooling system on a gas generator makes no sense. Or an active cooling system on a gas generator makes no sense. Just flood it with fuel. And that's what they do. That's what keeps it cool. If you get rid of that, there's no place for all that heat to go, dude. Because remember, all of your hydrocarbons, all of your RP1, nice. All of your RP1 gets combined because you're using gaseous, you have gas to liquid, right? RP1's being sprayed as a liquid. It basically gets sprayed into gaseous oxygen. All of it combines with all of the oxygen because the oxygen is spread out, right? You get way better atomization, and it burns off all the hydrocarbons. There's nothing left to absorb any of the heat. So the engines run extremely hot. Now, the Russians figured out that the way to solve this is to run the liquid, to basically to run your liquid oxygen through the engines first, get it to like a semi-gaseous state, to GOX state, I guess, and then blow it up, and then put it into the engine, and then blow it up again. Actually, blow it up one time to get it to spread out, and then blow it up again inside of the engine. Once again, that process makes a ton of heat because you burned off any fuel that's going to absorb the heat. Good question, though. Let's talk about the RD-190. What about it? The RD-180? That's what we're talking about, dude. Now, Lava Eagle, there are solutions to this problem. Ironically, it's actually, I didn't even need to Google a picture of it. It is in the next picture. No, not that one. Not that one. Not that. There you go. There's your solution to that problem. Right there. That right there is a oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle methalox rocket. Interesting, huh? Someone say methane? Yes, methane subcooler. We did. When do you guess Dream Chaser gets crew rated? I don't think crew rating is on Sierra Space's radar, May. I would guess more than 5 years at this point. No, Gilag. The solution to that
Discovery, go
problem,
at throttle up.
guys, is Methalox. Hey, Meat Snack, tier 1 6 months in advance. Thanks, man. But where those turbos fit on a Civic? That's a gas generator. It's not a turbo. It's a gas generator, so it's the turbine, but the turbine is attached to an impeller. So unless we want to move crazy amounts of liquid into a Civic, yeah, that's not gonna turbocharge anything, RB. Same difference. Yeah, pneumatics and hydraulics. Yeah, they're the same thing. Remember, that's your fuel pump. Okay? Yeah, Uncle X, that's a good way to say that. Jeez. Sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I think I may have gotten a food coma. Bree and I had pizza for dinner. Was that an MXC reference? Oh, yes. We are all big MXC fans in here. Yes. Oh, you like. If the world flat, where you sending this to? Your mom's house? Yeah, you never thought to look there, did you? Sending it right to your mom's house. It's amazing to me you never saw a huge rocket get delivered there. That's weird. Sorry, Tank. That's how I deal with that, man. that's how I deal with that, bro. It works. It's pretty funny. Huge rocket delivered right to your mom's house. See how it shaft shapes? Boom! Sorry, man. I came of age in the early 2000s on the internet. So up here kind of was a little cooked. Which is your favorite rocket engine? Lava, did I explain it good enough? Don't change the subject. Did I explain it? Does that make sense, dude? Methane is the solution to that.
Oh, this is space.
Zombies!
I'm in space.
Gifted 5 subs. Thanks, man. Which is your favorite rocket engine? Shuttle motor. It's the Shuttle or Raptor. I'm sorry. It's Shuttle or Raptor. It's the Shuttle engine. It's still the Shuttle engine. It's always going to be the Shuttle engine. That engine went to space and back 133 times. I was about to say 134, but then 133 times. Yeah, Rares, this is a good time. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. The F1 engines that Bezos found on the ocean floor. I've actually seen those things, zombies, which is pretty cool. I will say that the shuttle engine is the greatest engine of all time. Until a Starship lands back from orbit and gets caught on the tower, and then I think Raptor will have eclipsed it. Because the shuttle engine is only used to get up there. Raptor engines will be used to get up there and get back down, which is... Frick, that's cool! We're years from that. I didn't say it was happening soon, Cirrus. I just said, until then, shuttle engine. I said nothing about the date, homie. Okay? Said nothing about that. No, it did go to space and back 135 times. If you include SLS in the core stage slamming into the water, it still counts. Dude, the Artemis 1 core stage came back down from 1,000 nautical mile apogee. There's none of that stage made it to the water. It burned up completely. Yeah. Not a lot of people know that. SLS does like MEO insertion because it's a big freaking rocket and it has a lot of power. Yeah, I highly doubt any part of that SLS core made it down to the ocean. It obliterated itself. That's 1,600-kilometer apogee, guys. At least I think that's what it was. It was somewhere up in the 4 digits. Yeah. But EJ, what if China beats us to landing a first and second stage first? Repairy, is that a serious question? I hope Raptor 3 holds up to the hype. One blew up on the test stand yesterday, apparently. Did a Toyota tow a shuttle across an overpass? I seem to remember seeing that on TV when I was little. Toyota used a Tundra to pull the space shuttle across the street to the California Science Center. Yeah. Actually, it was a little bit more than that, but you get the idea. Yeah. RB, I think when I saw that commercial, that was officially the lowest of the low point for me as a spaceflight fan. That was the lowest of the low. Like, that was probably the lowest of the low. Toyota, good. Stay strong. That's not the point I'm trying to make. Toyota's a fine truck. To see an iconic American vehicle like the space shuttle be reduced to a freaking marketing campaign for a truck, for a Toyota truck, is just that was the low point. That was, dude, it was awful. It was awful. It just... Dude, even thinking about it just bothers me. Dude, it just bothers me, man. Is the orange booster that you're doing catch attempts in Kerbal with a realistic design? No, that's my own design. That's my own booster. It's actually... It's a Kerbalized version. It's a Kerbalized booster that is analogous in function to a Falcon 9. So it's a booster that's built specifically for Kerbal to do the exact same mission that Falcon 9 is supposed to do. That's the right way to explain it. That's MLV, May. Yeah. That's what that's supposed to do. I don't know, man. I think the disasters were the low point. Yeah. But at least with the disaster, you know, there was reassurance that we would bounce back from it. There was no reassurance that we would bounce back from anything once the shuttles were retired. It truly seemed like the end of NASA, guys. It was not good. It was not a fun time to be a space fan. It's not like, certainly not like it is now. You know, like, yeah, just seeing the space shuttle get just relegated to just a marketing gimmick just pissed me off. It was so uncool. Yeah, I agree. Faster than Flash. Yeah. Even better, they still have the truck parked outside the front door. Hooray for advert. They do. The truck is still, yeah, it's still at the California Science Center, which... After the second space shuttle blew up, I basically thought NASA was a joke until I watched this stream. Oh, thanks, Fistus. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, dudes. It ain't nothing like that anymore. Because we got stuff like this. Stuff like that. I mean, look, dude. Rockets are coming at us hot and heavy. This is like, it's a space renaissance. It's the opposite of that. We don't need to be salty about it anymore. But yeah. The shuttle engine will still be the greatest of all time for me. Because it's gone to space and back. It's gone to orbit and back, I should say. Starship maybe will take that throne one day. Raptor engines maybe. Well, let's land a ship and then we'll talk. The shuttle is still the greatest. It's still goated for me, dude. It's amazing. Not necessarily the most effective vehicle, but damn, was that thing cool. Damn, was that thing cool. Apparently it was a Raptor 2 that had a rud yesterday. Oh, that's good to know. Goated with the Riz for real, Scooby-Doo toilet Giat, Idaho, France. Don't worry, we throwing them engines away. Why would that make me worry? Why would I, why? Just because you said that. Ad time? Roll. Ugh. I hate ads. I hate ads and I hate you for requesting them, RB. Tell me when they're over. If you gave us more ways to spend these. If I gave you more ways to spend these, you would find more ways to disrupt the stream. Ask me how I know. I think that's a good idea, Hazareth. Yeah, whatever, God. What are you going to do? Increase the price tag of ads. All that does is make everybody buy ad time all at the same time, like what's going on right now. And then you get into channel point inflation and deflation, Bullion. Believe me, I played this game. I hate channel points, and I hate ad time. A lot, actually. Just turn channel points off. I'm getting to that point, Peter. Yeah. Yeah. What about point redeems that play clip sounds like Go a Throttle Up? There's a thing that you've been able to do for basically the entirety of this stream being on the air, Dino, for over the last decade that can play that sound.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Thank you, John. Unintentionally on time. No, that was perfect, man. Thank you. Back to space news, please. Indeed. So we got a picture from Relativity, guys. Relativity has been showing all their hardware. 5,000 bits, SVO. Holy shnikes, dude. Thank you. Whoa. Dang, man. So Relativity has been showing off all this hardware. Throttle valves, isolation valves, igniter solenoid valves, you name it, we've made it. We're designing, manufacturing, and testing dozens of valves in-house, ensuring we can scale production to Terran R. Cool. That's awesome, dude. Look at that thing. Feel it. A lot of casting going on here. All right. So, SpaceX stuff. So check this out. Tonight, guys, SpaceX announced okay, this really just screwed with me for a second. Thursday, March 20th, for a Falcon 9 launch of L-57 out of California. The time zone screwed with me again. This is going to be Wednesday morning for us on the East Coast. So the National Reconnaissance Office is targeting the L-57 mission. Here, let me bring this window down here for next space flight. Targeting this mission here, L-57, to launch out of Vandenberg, Slick 4 at 2:49 a.m. Eastern. Now, here's the thing. This booster is flying 1088 on its 4th flight. 9-day turnaround. 9-day turnaround. That Falcon 9 flew last week, flying the Sphere X Punch mission. Nine-day turnaround. They're sending it, dude. That's crazy. Is that confirmed? Oh, yeah. Here, look. There's SpaceX people in the comments that confirmed it. But anyway, Kraus basically said it. If John said it, that means it's pretty much going to happen. The Toyota shuttle thing reminds me of... It's disgusting. That's disgusting. Look at the patches on the Tiger. I really don't want to. I'm cool with that NASCAR style rockets. I absolutely am not. One, all that paint is extra mass. Hey, I want to take my rocket, a precision engineered piece of equipment, and draw funny stuff on the side to make it work worse. Shuttle wishes it could do a 9-day turnaround. The shuttle was never given the opportunity to do a 9-day turnaround, Reaper. Here we go. Starship, but with white thermal paint, making it look like the shuttle. I'm okay with that. You like livery on F1 cars. Are you, Gugu, are you implying that a race car with a bunch of logos on it of all the people sponsoring said race car is the same as launching a rocket into space? Like that's the same precedent? Is that what's going on here? Money is money. Okay. I'm just going to get down to brass tacks here. As spaceflight fans, you do not want this. You do not want this. Trust me on this one. We saw the fruits of that labor from the Galactic 1 mission. Do you guys remember that mission? You know, the coverage of Richard Branson's first flight on, Virgin Galactic, where it was like 90% them talking about corporate sponsors and other things to try and get your money, and 5% talking about the stream and actually like what's going on. You remember that? Blue is really good at this too. Blue is really good at hosting streams about rockets and then not talking about rockets. Like spending a good majority of the mission cast not talking about rockets. They're really good at that. You guys remember that? Believe me, you don't want this. You don't want that. It's not everyone's gonna be like SpaceX, dude. How long till point to point? Oh, I have no idea, dude. That's what felt wrong about Blue Streams. Yeah. Did Jared ever get confirmed? Nope. It's like the $20 meme. It's not about the money. It's about how long you have to be, how low you have to have that mindset. Yep. Hear me out. What if a rocket launch occurred at the same time as the Super Bowl and it was shown on the televisions? That'd be cool. We need rocket racing, then we can have rockets with liveries. Sure. Yeah, exactly. How much faster do you think they can turn around on Falcon 9? Think they could do a same day, next day turnaround? SVO, I ain't trying to give you a non-answer. I think that is entirely dependent on this mission. I think SpaceX... Okay, so I don't know the answer to it, but I'm willing to talk through. So, SpaceX wants to turn this booster around. They want to turn this booster around in 9 days. So one thing, first and foremost, 1088 only has 3 prior flights on it. Hasn't been reused very much. Take that for what it's worth. Second of all, it's the National Reconnaissance Office. If L57 is carrying something expensive, and let's be real, it's the National Reconnaissance Office, it's probably expensive. Right? SpaceX probably has extremely high confidence putting a 9-day turnaround booster on this. So, do I think they could ever get to that point? I think that's in the realm of possibility, sure. But that's to be taken with a grain of salt. It really depends on how well this mission goes. Now, the other thing to kind of take into account, and this is kind of contrary to what I just said, L57 could be a test flight for rapid turnaround. It could be a test flight for rapidly turning around Falcon 9. That's entirely possible. Sure, Fluffy. So, SVO, another thing that I'm kind of considering here. So I'm taking if it landed back at the launch site. Yeah, sure. The Deli Pepsi Arby's Vulcan did really well today. It was squarely off the pad, but we made some adjustments at max Q. From there on, it was smooth running all the way to orbit. I hate it a lot. Huh. Anyway. Now SVO, here's the thing. I'd assume only rapid turnaround if they're using it only for SpaceX satellites. Okay, so that's what my next question was. Was this booster's last flight an RTLS? The Sphere X Punch mission? Yes, it was. We watched it. No, actually, I didn't watch Sphere X. We watched a replay of Sphere X Punch, but yes. Lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, SEO, the other thing to take into account is that SpaceX really wants to hit about 150 missions, right? They want to hit about 150 missions, 150, 160 missions a year. That's really what they want to do. So that's basically a launch every 2 days. If you have a fleet of 10 boosters and you want to launch every 2 days, right? Actually, a fleet of 15 would probably... How many boosters are active right now? Hold on. The point that I'm trying to get at is if my mouse decides to work, thank you. The point that I'm trying to get at here is that do you need what do you think SpaceX is pining for? What is the ideal turnaround for them? Right? Because right now they're hitting sub 2-day launch cadence with a 30-day turnaround. And I'm highly confident that most of that 30-day turnaround is towing the booster back from a drone ship landing. In fact, I know that that's what that is. So what do you think would be the ideal turnaround? How many active cores do we have here? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Huh. You want to launch 150 times a year. And you have 15 boosters. Well, that's 1 month turnaround for every booster. Am I wrong? About a 30-day turnaround time. And we know that 20 days of that, for the most part, well, actually about half of that is being towed back on the drone ship. They don't truck them back to Vandenberg anymore, Phil. They have a barge that tows it up to Vandenberg. A barge that's not the ASDS. Does the 150 launches include Falcon Heavy? No, Outdoorsman. Interesting. Maybe they want to see if they could shrink the amount of boosters they have on hand. So, guys, I'm not trying to like kill the hype, but if I'm thinking about this right, a 9-day turnaround is not, it's not pushing it like we think it is. That's maybe taking something that usually takes about 2 weeks to turn it around and shrinking it down to like maybe a week and a half. So that means some employees at SpaceX worked over the weekend. Am I wrong in thinking about this way? I mean, it's still faster than anyone else ever. I don't think anybody's ever used any hardware from the space program in 9 days that's been to space and back ever, right? Like, I think this 9-day turnaround is because the last mission that this booster flew, RTLS, and it landed right next to the pad. And oh, a little bit on Vandenberg that I found in the Falcon 9 Vandenberg user's guide the other day. Let me load up Goggle Earth here. So we know that SpaceX is using Slick 6, the former Shuttle and Delta IV and Athena rocket launch pad right here. We know that they're using that. And they want to have Falcon operations here at Slick 6. We know they're using it because they painted an X on the side of this building here, and that's kind of important. What we didn't know is that the solid rocket motor refurbishment and assembly facility right here is where they're refurbishing West Coast Falcon 9s. That information became public when SpaceX updated their Falcon 9 users guide the other day. They refurbished Falcons in the old SRB facility. This is where they were going to refurb SRBs for Slick 6. Yeah, that's where they were going to do it. That was going to be the orbiter processing facility right there. And external tanks were going to be stored in this place over here. Yep. That's where they're refurbishing Falcon 9s. There's a fleet of Falcon 9s in that building. All the ones that operate out of Vandenberg. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, first of all, that's really cool. I'm happy to see that Slick 6 is getting some action. Second of all, Falcon 9s from an RTLS land right there. The refurbishment facility is 3.5 miles away. That's it. About 5 kilometers away. That's it. So this is a result of consolidation and optimization of operations, no doubt. But to us laymen's, it looks pretty damn impressive. So this is Slick 4. This is where they launch Falcon off of the West Coast. There's the launch pad. That's Slick 4E and the former Slick 4W, Slick 4 West. You could see the old flame trench from the Titan pad that was here. That is a landing pad now. Yep. Wait, the shuttle flew from Vandenberg? I thought all shuttles flew from the Cape. Oh, boy. I'm doing it. Bill, we're doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it because... Nader, the shuttle, the Air Force wanted to use the space shuttle to launch their defense satellites. Part of the reason why the payload bay was so ridiculously big. But the Air Force didn't want to be beholden to NASA at 39A. So in order to get to A, get to some of the orbits that they need to do to put their satellites, and B, have operations that were disjointed from NASA's operations at the Cape, the Air Force spent $2 billion in 1985, in the early 80s, to reform Slick 6 into a shuttle launch pad. They built it, and they finished it, and it was getting ready. Discovery was going to be handed over to the Department of Defense to run the STS-62A mission, which was going to be the first Department of Defense launch from Vandenberg with a fully operational pad. That was supposed to happen in Q1 1986. Do we remember what happened in Q1 1986 pertaining to the space program? Challenger happened. The DoD got cold feet, pulled the plug on the entire program. They built an entire launch and integration complex at Vandenberg and even test fit the damn thing. And then never used it. NASA was planning on using Slick 6.2 for the shuttle launches, except, like, for example, COBU was planning to launch from Vandy on the shuttle. Well, that's cool, too. I didn't know that. Neat. Yep. Pad deluge test. Yep. An entire launch complex. Yep. Operational, by the way. Yeah, it was declared operational in late 1985, right after these fit checks. This is just my regular shuttle launch pad. These are just my regular shuttle launch pictures. But, yeah, there's some pictures from 39A in the Cape in here, too. Is there plans for Starship on the West Coast? I don't know. Oh yeah, the external tank storage racks inside of the VAB. You store them like bookshelves. Go back, I saw math. Nope. Nope. So, yeah, that's what happened. Wow, oof, yeah, that sucks. Bad. I hate all those cancellations. There's so many uses for shuttle that never got realized. I always tell people the Saturn V got cut down in its prime. The shuttle was never allowed to get to its prime. We did not ever utilize like even half of what that vehicle is capable of doing. It's really, really freaking annoying, man. The shuttle, even with, you know, with one fighting with one arm behind its back, built that. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Yep. Yep, that's right, Goss. Slick 6 was originally built for the Gemini Manned Orbiting Laboratory program. They built half of it and then decided that they didn't want to do that anymore. Yep, they even built a collapsible mate-demate device so they could receive shuttles at Vandenberg. Yeah. This thing could be packed up and moved. That MDD, yeah, you could pack it up on trucks. It works like basically bespoke, like pop-out furniture. Yep. I made that in Kerbal. Oh, hey. Hello. The shuttle is goated. I don't care what anybody says. There, yeah, there's a diagram of the entire thing. Did they ever say, was there going to be like a dedicated shuttle crew for that? Yes, the crew was assigned in training for it, goalie. Bob Crippen was the commander of the mission. STS-62A, I believe is what it was called. Yep. I think Slick 6's design is pretty damn cool because instead of basically, it is a system that's built around STS, okay? Now at the Cape, they retrofitted all of Saturn V systems for the shuttle. Slick 6 was a launch pad that was built for the shuttle. It was pretty awesome because they built the stack right on the pad. You don't need to worry about a mobile launcher, like moving the whole thing. No. You don't even need to move it out of the VAB. Your assembly building and your service towers move by themselves. So you could build right on the pad, allowing for faster turnaround time. I'm asking like a fighter jet, they had a dedicated pilot, and they the ones that will fly that one. No, I don't think so, goalie. Where was it going to land? They paid a very, very large amount of cash to extend Vandenberg Space Force Base's runway to 15,000 feet. Yeah.
Oh, this is space.
Hey, Dan.
I'm in space.
What's going on, man? Yeah, Dan, it's kind of like that. Yep. So, Bob, I've done like deep dives on this before. If you want to see something actually pretty cool, right there, I showed you that mate-demate device, right? Where was it? Give me a second. There you go. I showed you the mate-demate device. Look at the shape. Right there. The MDD could be packed up from there. Cool thing is that, well, not You can either think this is a really cool engineering problem or you think this is a crazy waste of money. And either way, no matter how you fall on this, it's right. I think you're correct. So check this out. You have the taxiway. It goes all the way down here. And then there's a disused thing over here. So the shuttle could be towed back. It was designed to be towed back from the pad to the refurbishment facilities at Vandenberg on this Kometo transporter right here. Kometo makes like SPMTs and stuff, so they wanted to move the shuttle around on this thing, right? So the shuttle would land, they would pick it up on the MDD, put it down on the Kometo, and they would drive the Kometo back to Slick 6. But in order to do that, they needed to well, make a lot of infrastructure that's shuttle sized to get it back there. If we go start peeping around Vandenberg, right, you can see that there's a lot of roads. There's a lot of intersections and roads that have a very wide, that have provisions for a very wide turning radius. Like that one. See that? Follow this road. See that? Like that. You're not going to modify the interchange, so they put a pass through right here. You follow this road down here, you start seeing stuff. Like how they cut grades into the side of the road. You can distinctly see that there was grades cut into the side of this. You can see where they did it, right there and right there. The terrain cuts get more apparent when you start getting down into the valley that goes into Lompoc. See what I'm talking about? They definitely widened this road. They widened it to be 3.5 lanes wide. See what I'm talking about? Follow the road. You follow the road, it goes across the river, right? Very solid bridge right there, all concrete, also 3 lanes wide. It gets to the gate to Vandenberg, and then look, again. See what I'm talking about? Cut in the road. You go follow up here, right? Start getting out. This leads to the Lompoc Surf train station. Look, cuts in the terrain. See the cuts? Now, I know what people are going to say. EJ, that's pretty much every road in Southern California. On any other occasion, you are absolutely 100% right. Except those cuts were specifically done for the space shuttle. Yeah, because they needed to tow it back to Slick 6. That was their way of doing it. I hate to say it, but in many ways, our manned space program in the U.S. has been completely screwed since the cancellation of Apollo. Programs never used if they had potential cancellation, poor management. Yeah, Nader, that's part of an overarching theory that I've had for a long time. We've kind of been conditioned to settle for things because that's been the norm basically since the end of Apollo. Settle for. You settle for the shuttle because you could have nothing. You know, Space Station Freedom? No. Settle for the ISS because you could have had nothing. This seems, I seem to notice a recurring pattern, and I'm kind of sick of it. You know? And then I started thinking about this when Viper got canceled. Like, Viper, dude, that day, like, changed my outlook on spaceflight completely. And that's what kind of tipped me off. Because Viper wasn't canceled because it overran its budget. If we were that fiscally conservative when it came to funding NASA missions, James Webb would have been canceled a long time ago. It was canceled because someone wanted it canceled, not because it was a bad mission. It was canceled because somebody was playing games with NASA. And that's the real result here. The real result is that, you know, like I said, you know, we're conditioned to settle, we're conditioned to settle, we're conditioned to settle because, you know, somebody's always playing games. Somebody's playing games with NASA. Somebody's playing, you know, the money game with NASA. I don't know. It's been like this since the end of Apollo. It's unacceptable. And I'm personally not taking that crap anymore. No. Fix the damn program. That's why I'm so adamant about Rook, like me wanting Rook to fix SLS. I don't want a cheaper solution because there clearly isn't one. Every time we've proposed a cheaper solution, how did that work? Right? And, guys, one could say that, oh, well, SpaceX and Starship will fix that. And guys, keep in mind, I'm a Starship fan. I'm a big Starship fan. I want NASA to do their own thing as well. I want NASA to do their own thing. Fix the damn problem, please. Yeah. Sincerely, U.S. citizen. Fix it. Don't say we can do it for cheaper if we do this. Don't say, oh, no. Fix it. Just fix it. I don't want to hear bullcrap. I don't want to hear excuses. Fix the stupid thing. Shut the hell up and fix it. I'm sick of stuff like this happening, Dude, that's a $2 billion launch facility. In 1985 dollars, that's like a $10 billion launch facility nowadays. Never used it. I miss the days of cool engineering problems combined with crazy waste of money. You don't do it because it's easy. You do it because it's hard. Yeah, exactly. Chatted with my professor at university, and he 100% agreed with you with what he said. I'm sick of the nonsense. All right. As spaceflight fans, and some of you guys watching this stream have even been around here since Apollo, and I feel for you. I'm finally understanding what the older spaceflight fan crowd has been telling me. Like, it's not good. It's not good enough. Like, it's just not. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. It ain't good enough. Like, I'm sick of games. Like, because that's what people are doing. You're playing games. We're gonna use the shuttle. Oh wait, no. Let's use Titan 4. Let's figure out the most expensive way to not do anything. Let's fund an entire shuttle launch complex and then decide, no, we want to go back to regular rockets instead of seeing it through because it's cheaper or whatever. And then spend bajillions of dollars on Titan 4 instead when we get to the 5-yard line and can't put the ball in the friggin' end zone. Right? It's like watching Kansas City play. Yeah, there was a shot there. How about that? You know exactly what I mean. I'm sick of this. This is unacceptable.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
It's unacceptable. I'm not. This is, like I said, the older crowd has been telling me this for a long time. Like, and I didn't really want to believe it. Like, but yeah, everything's a compromise. It's just been compromise after compromise after compromise after compromise. That's what I was gonna say. Like, as spaceflight fans, guys, when Apollo got canceled, people that were opponents to it were like, why are we spending this much money on space? We should fix our problems down here. We should fix our problems down here. We have so many problems down here that we need to fix. And don't get confused, because it's not one versus the other. It's both. It's both of these things. And the spaceflight community was like, okay, we kind of let Apollo get canceled. We let it happen, right? Okay, yeah, that's fine. This is expensive. We should fix things. Where did that get us? That got us freaking nowhere. That got us with NASA that we have now. So don't get me wrong. This isn't to specifically point fingers at people that are saying, like, we should fix our problem down here. I mean, I think that opinion is fundamentally flawed. I think we go to space to help fix problems down here. We can do both of these things at once. It's pretty easy. The second part of that is, and this is where you can call me a prick for saying this, that's fine. The second part of that is yeah, we tried that 50 years ago and it didn't frigging work. I'm done compromising. Sorry. Tough crap. You had a half century to fix this. We could have been on Mars by now. Yeah, exactly, Aqualex. A lot of the solutions to fix stuff down here, a lot of quality of life stuff came from flying into space. You know why we haven't gone further than the moon? Why it get canceled? Because quite frankly, Earth is up so far of its own tail, it won't achieve it faster. Well, Sib, that's changing now. The winds are changing, which is why when, if Rook gets confirmed, I want him in there to fix things. Don't cancel everything. Fix it. Fix it for the love of God. Fix it. I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of this. Anyway. Yeah, it's bullcrap, and we shouldn't be okay with it. We really shouldn't be okay with it. We've played this game. We've been playing this game for a long time, and we always get the shaft as spaceflight fans. It's really annoying, Use the shuttle. You should use the shuttle. We don't. Falcon 9 is, or not Falcon 9. Saturn 5 is too expensive. Use the shuttle. Use the shuttle. Okay, we use the shuttle. Can we build something else? No, no, no. If you build something else that's better, then we won't be able to use the shuttle. We won't be able. Oh, you're still using that 30-year-old orbiter, and it killed 7 more people. Oh, we shouldn't use the shuttle anymore. We shouldn't use that. No, we shouldn't use that. Go, maybe we should go back to doing, like regular rocket stuff and going back to the moon. Oh, that's expensive? Never mind. It's annoying. It's really annoying. I'm sick of it. Freaking sick of it. I'm sick of people playing games with it. How about you do your job? National Aeronautic and Space Administration. It's that second, the S right there. You should do that part. Send people to that part. Please do that. When will he get confirmed? I don't know. Someone's dragging their feet on it, and it's really goddamn annoying. You say do both, but every space launch uses 8 years of damage to Earth's atmosphere. Damage to Earth's atmosphere. What does that mean? What is damage to Earth's atmosphere? Explain. What is it, an RPG? What is it, World of Warcraft? Are we going to debuff the atmosphere too? What does that mean? I'll wait. Does it have a cooldown? Well, yeah, it does. It does cool down after a certain amount of time. Yeah, Minfu, I get it. So 187, you don't need to finish typing. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say all the emissions from rockets. And sending stuff that into the ionosphere that shouldn't be there. Okay, first of all, if you want to think of environmental conservation and you start barking up the tree of the space program, that's entirely misplaced. You should probably go after container ships that are dumping bilge oil into the ocean, like millions of gallons every day. Maybe the airline industry, something like that. You're gonna bark up our tree. You're gonna give us crap. The people that want to help make your life better. You're gonna do it. Okay, sure. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. No. We've tried this way that, involves not launching a lot of rockets. We've tried that already. That does not work. That doesn't work. You see what I'm talking about? The ocean has organizations that eat oil in the oceans. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's launch less rockets then. Anyway, yeah, let's 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 get to the next thing. Organisms. Oh. Okay. So what 187 okay, you've piqued my curiosity. So organisms eat the bilge oil, right? They eat all the bilge oil. Okay. Um what 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 is the so so what? They eat all the oil. How long does that take? What kind of algae are we talking about here? Because it's algae that would do that. What are we talking about here? How much do they have it? Is the amount that we're putting in equal to the amount that gets digested? What are we talking about here? Oil coming to Earth's surface is nothing new. Okay. All right, you confused me. You're cool with oil being in the oceans because that's a naturally occurring thing, but you're not cool with carbon emissions in the atmosphere because that's not a naturally occurring thing? Am I getting at that? Is that what you're saying? Or genuinely wondering. They put holes that take years to repair into the ionosphere. I I'm not entirely sure that's how that works. 187, I'm not trying to call you out. Explain if you don't think that is true. I don't I would like to see a source where talked about if the effects of a rocket ascent or an uphill ride on the ionosphere. Generally, I'd like to see a source there. I would like to read it. But also, it's very interesting to me that just because it takes a naturally occurring environmental system longer times to repair than others, that like you're drawing the line with rockets. It seems like a very arbitrary thing. Does that make sense? There are way more things in this world that do way more damage to this planet than rockets ascending into space. But if you want to give me a link or something, I'd be very curious to read. Open mind and all. I'm just genuinely wondering that. Yeah, Tim has a video on this, but I'm if we're gonna speak in judicial terms, the burden of proof is on you because I don't on 187. I'm very interested to learn and understand this, if at all. Give you some time, okay? Because seriously, I've looked at this stuff before. It's negligible compared to the other damage, figurative damage that we're doing to this planet. Earth is a lot is a lot more resilient than we give it credit for. You know how we know? It was around a long time before we came. Just saying. Anyway, moving on to Starship news. So, if we go back a little ways. So, check this out. High Bay 1. The first super tall building that they built down there is being disassembled. This is footage from yesterday. Yeah, Galaxy, that's important to understand. 187, I would invite you to read about what a volcano would do to Earth's atmosphere. A volcano going off. Because if you looked at that, you'd realize that rockets are a drop in the bucket compared to the natural hits, let's say, and human-made hits to the atmosphere that we dish out. A volcano, like, what we dish out is nothing compared to a volcano. You know how much damage that does to the whole thing? Like, at the very, very least, it's canceling plane flights, like when that volcano in Iceland erupted a couple of years ago. That was a long time ago, but you get the idea. It disrupted flights in Europe for a week. Like, that's a superfluous level thing. The damage that volcanoes themselves do to the atmosphere. Crazy. That point could go a lot of ways. Man, you really don't want to change your mind on that. All right, that's fine. Hey, whatever. Can't convince anybody. Can't convince everybody. Anyway, so they started punching out windows into the high bay, and they're starting to disassemble it. The other thing is, where is it? This was yesterday. SpaceX moved Booster 15 to the Rocket Garden. See it over there? This is a replay from yesterday. We might be able to get a live shot of this. Nope. No live shot. I don't know, Surat. I look, man. If we didn't use oil, volcanoes would be more active. That one hurt a little bit. Okay. All right. All right. I'm just gonna go back to. Oh no. Go back. Out those sources that you were looking into. Time's ticking. Anyway, they moved Booster 15 out. So Booster 15 was moved out of Mega Bay 1. It was moved to the Rocket Garden. Now, two things to note. Booster 15 was the last booster that flew. It was caught on Flight 8. I know, I saw it get caught. I also saw it roll out and roll back to the production site. It seems that SpaceX took all the engines off. They took all the engines off of Super Heavy and put it out in the Rocket Garden. Now, I don't know if that means 15 is done. I don't know what's going on with Booster 14. My guess is that if Booster 14 was finished, it would also be out in the Rocket Garden. So we're in a very curious position here. Is Booster 16 going to fly with 15's engines? Well, what we've seen SpaceX do in the past is, not necessarily reuse the whole booster. They did this with Falcon 9. They didn't reuse a whole booster. What they started doing is reusing engines. And then they started reusing more and more components, and then reusing grid fins, and then everything else. So that's my guess, that parts were taking off, engines were taken off of 15, and a lot of parts were taken off of 15. Because if I had to guess, Booster 14 probably had a better, the hull on Booster 14 was probably better for reuse, but Booster 15 probably had better engines. Which we did know, like Booster 12's engines came back and were basically a write-off. Those engines got destroyed, right? Booster 14 and 13's engines got destroyed too, for what it's worth. Booster 14 and 15, the engines on those looked in a lot better condition coming back than Booster 12's. So my guess is that SpaceX is taking all the parts that fared the best through reuse and making one reusable booster. That's my guess. But I don't know. Woozy, I don't know, man. I'm just... I don't know, dude. I Booster 12's engines look like crumpled up solo cups. They did. Booster 15, unlike 12, rolled to the rocket garden with protective covers on sensitive places. I think they're just taking it on vacation, so 16 has space to return into the Mega Bay. Booster 14 is probably near ready for testing. Yeah, that's the other important thing. There's a bunch of FOD covers on Booster 15, so who knows? We'll see. Are we getting some workers later? Yes, I'm going to take a break in a little bit, and I'm going to take a break in a little bit. I want to watch the season finale of Severance. I'm sorry. Yeah, I quite enjoy that show. And then I will be back. We'll do a late night stream all the way to the L57 launch. At least that's the plan. We'll see what happens. And they were filling the Pad A water tanks today. That's right, Phil. Yep. Pad A is looking through a lot of refurb. Also, I love this picture from NSF South. Actually, this is NSF Dune. Because these pictures always show how big the OLM actually is. See the dude on the basket right there? And see the people, there's people walking around down here. Really get a sense of scale here. Sorry you got hooked into that? Well, Dave, like, here's the thing, dudes. 187, like, I don't just give in to every single troll, okay? 187 has watched the stream before. I know he's a regular viewer. Or at least a semi-regular viewer. That's the reason why I listen. And that's why I said cite the sources instead of, your mom's a volcano or something like that. Like, a regular troll, I'll just tell them to piss off. But sometimes I get regular viewers that are onto something. I'm willing to look at it. I'm willing to give them the time of day because they've given me their time of day. You know what I mean? Thoughts on getting a brand new Subaru Crosstrek? I wouldn't buy a Subaru, Dean, but that's just me. That doesn't mean they're bad cars. All systems, yeah. I'm going to take a break, though, after Space News. Yep. I'm car shopping, and that's the direction you're going in. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a Crosstrek. Crosstreks are pretty cool. It's like a rally car, man. It's pretty neat. So why are they decommissioning the high bay? They're decommissioning the high bay size up to build a bigger bay. Have a Yingling for you? Oh, all right. And Pad B did finish their concrete pours. That's right. Head gaskets. Yeah, don't tromp on it too hard, Dean. Subarus are known for blowing head gaskets. Sorry you got hooked into that piece of crap. Oh, you were talking about Severance. You watched one season and it was so slow. uh, Dave, what do you want me to do with what you just said? Where do we go with this conversation? Okay, thank you, I guess. Like, thoughts on what ship and booster will go to Florida from Boca? My guess, outdoorsman, is, I mean, a booster that hasn't been made yet. Nothing? You really didn't like it, Dave? I think it's a good show. It's a little weird at times, but I think it's a good show. Anyway. Interesting, Dave. You're the first person I've met that doesn't like it. $187. You got a link for me? Okay, hold on a second here. Let's check. Let's see what we got. So this is a NASA technical report about the environmental effects of the shuttle from the first 5 flights. Okay, this report's from 1983. Okay. Only to get crispy on what's your favorite horse fact about point-to-point shuttle. Liverpool. The growing number of rocket launches and satellites burning up in Earth's atmosphere could trigger the world's next big environmental emergency. Experts are racing to understand the new threat before it's too late. Space industry is booming. Over the past 15 years, the number of rockets launched per year has nearly tripled. The number of satellites orbiting the planet has increased tenfold. According to Statista, the amount of space debris, older satellites, and spent rocket stages falling back to Earth has doubled over the past 10 years. A few hundred tons of old space junk now vaporizes in the atmosphere every year, experts say. And all of this is just the beginning. Applications for satellite spectrum for 1 million satellites have been filed with the International Telecommunications Union. The majority of these satellites, mega constellations such as SpaceX Starlink, that are currently planned are being deployed by that time. The amount of space junk burning up in the atmosphere on a yearly basis is expected to reach 3,300 tons. Soot and alumina. Most rockets today run on fossil fuels and release soot, which absorbs heat and could increase temperatures in the upper atmosphere. Most rockets in use today run on fossil fuels and release soot, which absorbs heat and could increase temperatures in the upper levels of the Earth's atmosphere. Okay. The atmospheric incineration of satellites produces aluminum oxides, which too can alter the planet's thermal balance. Both types of emissions have the potential to destroy the... Who the fuck wrote this? Just keep reading. The ozone's protective gas that keeps dangerous ultraviolet UV radiation from reaching Earth's surface. Yeah, okay. A study published in the Journal of Geophysical Research Letters in June found that concentrations of aluminum oxides in the mesosphere and stratosphere, two atmospheric layers above the lowest layer, the troposphere, could increase by 650%. Where's the... Yep, okay. Same person. Within the next 30 years, concentration could increase by 650%. Okay, where's your source? Same person, written 2021. Well, defunct satellites burn in the atmosphere. They leave behind chemicals that could damage the ozone layer. All right. Where's the paper? Where's your paper? You keep saying this. All right. Where's the study? Where's the paper? Has it been peer reviewed? I'd be very interested here. Paper published May 20th in the Scientific Journal. All right, cool. Let's go. Yeah, about that. Okay. A 650% increase over what was 100%. What was 100%? So we're talking about 6.5 times the amount of oxides. What is that in percentage to what burns up in the atmosphere regularly in terms of tonnage? I guarantee you it's a negligible amount. Guaranteed. 3,300 tons is dick. That's nothing for what burns up in the atmosphere from naturally occurring phenomenon. Asteroids, shooting stars, not microbursts. If an asteroid burns up, or a micrometeorite burns up in the atmosphere, that's nothing. That is nothing. Absolutely negligible amount. Second of all, Longbow, you said something about the ionosphere. I saw nothing about the ionosphere in any of these articles. It was not mentioned once. Want to look at this one. Okay. Most of the monitoring activity was focused around launch cloud, emphasizing surface effects, the biota and air quality, model prediction of surface concentrations of HC HCl gas and Al2O3 dust. So that's SRB byproducts. In general, assessments and predictions made in the 1978 final environmental impact assessment for the shuttle program were verified. Fallout of acidic mist and dust within 3 to 5 miles of the launch pad was the only unexpected effect of the launch. Atomization of deluged water in the shuttle exhaust is considered to be the most probable cause of this effect. Longbow, so here's the thing, dude. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. Yeah, rockets, of course they pollute. I'm not saying they don't. It's the entire point that I'm making is that it's a negligible effect. And this paper seems to conclude the same thing, along with pretty much every other finding from whoever that person is. I don't know her. You remember what I was saying is that, you know, this whole thing goes back to fixing problems down here versus fixing problems up there. You brought up the fact that it pollutes. My honest to God answer to this, and forgive me for being candid, is so the fuck what? Everything pollutes. Rockets don't pollute nearly as much as everything else, dude. So what? Yeah, of course. You existing right now pollutes. Once again, I'm not saying that rockets are some mystical thing that don't pollute and have an industrial footprint and have everything has an industrial footprint, of course. But when he said I'm not trying to be a jerk, dude. I know you. I know you've watched the stream. I love you, man. Like, seriously, I know you're regular. I know you've been following the stream for a long time. But this is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Rockets have been proven time and time again. They do pollute. Of course they do. Yeah, duh. It's not like we live in some like futuristic Star Trek world where we're all up our own tails and pretend that rockets, you know, the environmental impact of rockets, our crap don't stink. Of course it does. Everything does. Rockets have always been a drop in the bucket. And, well, I guess if you want to take into account that, the stuff getting deorbited and disposable satellites, yeah, I have a problem with that too. Sure, yeah, that could make Kessler syndrome up there. I'm talking about exploring space. Remember, the context was NASA doing NASA things. All right? Usually, if NASA sends something out, they want it back intact. If it's coming back. Right? Do you see the point that I'm trying to make? I understand that they pollute, and I understand they do damage. Everything does damage to this planet. You don't add something new per the laws of thermodynamics to a construct and hope it's going to change, stay the same. Of course it's going to change. Sure. I would agree with that, but we should take some time before going all in with no-go regulations for the private sector. Oh, dude. Okay. That's where we're not seeing eye to eye. Yeah, sure, man. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about NASA. The whole point of this conversation was NASA. I want NASA. I want the reins unbound on NASA, and that includes environmental research, dude. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, cool. I thought I was going nuts there for a second. Holy crap. Oh, dude. Yeah, of course. Dude, yeah. No, I'm right with you. Yeah, absolutely. That's where is that where we're missing? Okay, cool. All right, we're on the same page, homie. Oh, man, I was getting worried there for a second, dude. I was getting worried. Yes, duh. The whole point of my argument is that I want NASA to be untethered from the bullcrap that happens down here to fly up into space, and that includes Earth observation, that includes planetary science, that includes sending people to other planets. I'm sick of NASA getting the shaft. That was the impetus for the whole thing. That was the impetus for my whole argument. The private sector, don't get me wrong, I'm super happy what SpaceX does. I love Starship. I think it's cool. Obviously, I'm the one that's been saying regulatory framework 450 for the FAA has been fine. It's worked, and it's worked really well. I mean, I got grilled on a flame trench for that, dude. But whatever. Right? Yeah, of course. Of course. We can't just go willy-nilly on the commercial sector. That's why I want NASA to work, and I want NASA to be unchained. Because if NASA isn't unchained, then the private sector runs amok around the solar system. I think that's an extremely bad idea. Screw me, right? Like, that isn't to say that SpaceX should slow down or should be slowed down either. They should work within the confines of regulatory 450 framework, which is what they do. And I think regulatory 450 is maybe adequate. It should probably be expanded to take into account that more people are launching things into space. Sure, absolutely. But also at the same time, if we allow NASA to just keep making compromise after compromise, well, it's very clear we get lesser and lesser every time. They'll get completely eclipsed by commercial. And then what? Then what do? Then we have no NASA. Right? I want NASA to stop trying to fight with one hand behind its back. Where's my goddamn moon base, dude? I want a scientific research moon base on the moon and on Mars. But I also want SpaceX to do their thing as well. See what I'm saying? Freedom Boy, maybe, but I don't want to leave it to precedent. I don't want to establish that precedent that commercial spaceflight is the only thing. I want NASA to get going. That was the whole argument. NASA should be doing Apollo stuff right now. Right now. It's super important. Okay, 187, dude, you scared me for a second. That's why I wanted to talk it through, dude. That's why I wanted to talk it through. I was like, dude, what are you talking about, man? But okay, we're on the same page. We just needed to, I needed to turn a few pages ahead. You need to turn a few pages behind, or vice versa. But I'm glad we're on the same page there, man. That makes me happy. Anyway, sorry guys. Once again, 187's an old, he's been watching the stream for a long time. I give him the time of day. He's given me his time. So, due diligence to do the reverse. Anyway. Cool. Yeah, Fluffy, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I feel way better now. I was getting a little annoyed. Not with you, 187. I was getting annoyed because I don't understand.
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
Gifted a sub. Right on. SLS needs to fly more. It needs to fly more. This is very important for this potential future space flight thing that we want to do. We want to make space flight big again. We can do that. There's ways to go about it, and there's ways not to go about it. What I want is actually both of those ways, because I'm greedy, because I'm sick of compromising. Does that make sense? But anyway. All good, brother. We're good. I'm happy we're on the same page. That made me happy. Thank you. Thank you for humoring me. Starship. All right, so Booster 15 is out in the rocket garden. It's out there, but they covered it all up. It has FOD covers all over it, but no engines, which, once again, I think that's fair to say that they're probably going to put it back in the high bay eventually, but who knows? ESA and a German university and scientific institutions like Fraunhofer Institute are already researching materials for lunar and Martian base buildings. Good. Great. Great. Please. Good. Make one. They make more. Goalie, how did the once around work for the shuttle? Did they go fully to orbit, deploy, then quickly do a deorbit burn? Or are they pulling a Starship style test flight? It's more or less a Starship style test flight, Goalie. Yes. I'm sorry that I'm not great at spelling things, so it takes you longer to get out. It's all good, bro. It's all good. All good, brother. We're good. You scared me for a second, but that was because of my misunderstanding. It's all good. All good. I was like, what? Shuttle never did an abort once around. No, but it could have. If they were going to launch out of Vandenberg, that's what it would have done, David. Yeah. They would have done that as just the mission, not an abort once around, which... That's a ballsy mission. Yeah. That is a very complicated mission. Can we do something for the 10-year-old me and call it Moonbase Alpha? Absolutely. If we don't call it that, I'll be very annoyed. Out of curiosity then, so you believe in no private space or some, like what percentage, if that makes sense? No, Sewer Rat, you're confused. I want SpaceX to be operating at I want SpaceX to basically be doing what they're doing right now. But I also want NASA to be doing that. I want both entities firing at all cylinders. I want 100% commercial and 100% public. I want 2 redundant space programs. I know what people are going to say. AJ, all right, it's Fantasyland. Yeah, it's Fantasyland because we've been conditioned to believe that that's Fantasyland over the last 50 goddamn years. It's not. This is obtainable. We can do this. NASA can have their own Apollo-style program by fixing the SLS program, and we can have Starship on top of that. Now, why? Why do I want both of these things? Well, first of all, more rockets, more better. Jack is 100% right in this regard. Second of all, we've seen the fruits of an entirely public sector space program going to other celestial bodies. We've seen the fruits of that labor. What's the fruits of that labor? The program getting canceled just because some bonehead in DC doesn't like it. That's the fruits of that labor. That doesn't work. That's not very sustainable. Simultaneously, we've seen what happens when the entire launch market is left to commercial, only commercial. And then the dot-com bubble happens and a recession happens and everybody wants to pull out of the commercial launch market. We've seen what happens when we rely entirely on commercial. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We tried to do that in the 90s and it didn't work. The second a recession came through, when the dot-com bubble burst, the launch market evaporated overnight and we almost lost all of our rockets. That's not very sustainable either. You don't want a fully commercial program that can be subject to market whims of capitalism. Capitalism goes up, it goes down. You can't explain it. Well, you can explain that, but you get the idea. There's ebbs and flows to capitalism. It gets big and then it gets small, and then it gets big and then it gets small. Everybody knows this, right? Do you want to subject our space program to that? No, absolutely not. That's not a good idea either. So, we've seen the fruits of an all-public space program where that gets us. Some moron can just say, we don't want to do this anymore because the other guy isn't doing it anymore, right? We won the space race. Not very sustainable. And then we also have, in the 90s, a great example of when we just leave it all up to commercial. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but leaving it all up to commercial got us ULA, and that also ended up getting us stagnation in the launch industry. Ergo, vis-a-vis, concordedly, no, ergo, the only way forward is to do both. And we are in a very unique scenario where we can do that. I want SpaceX to go to Mars. I want them to do all the crazy things that Elon is saying they will do. I want them to do that. As long as it's within regulatory 450 framework. That's fine. Which I think is personally pretty good. I've read it. It's pretty good. Treats rockets like airplanes, so you can launch as much as airplanes theoretically. Pretty good idea. Also, I want NASA doing the cutting edge of scientific research. I want human exploration to be I want NASA on the cutting edge of exploration. If we don't do both of these things, if we don't have both of these things, a really healthy public sector space program that can be supplemented by commercial, well, that's not the most sustainable way forward. We're with a program like Starship, we are on a new precedent has set for what a commercial entity for spaceflight is. Okay? We're on the verge of seeing the market for sending stuff into space, figuratively, not actually, explode. And that could open up all kinds of crazy things in the market. Asteroid mining, lunar vacations, low Earth orbit vacations. At the very least, on-orbit manufacture. We could do all this. We could do all of this. Right? But just because that is all happening doesn't mean we shouldn't have NASA at the forefront of like exploration, doing scientific research to back us up. That's like saying when, you know, settlers from Europe decided to, you know, settle in the North American continent, right? Saying, "Oh, we do all the scientific research in Europe. We don't need to do that here. We don't need to do that here. No, let's not do that. Let's not establish Harvard University. Let's not do any of that. No. No, they do that fine in Cambridge. We're good." No, 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 that's not how that works at all. That's no, you have to do both of these things. We have to. It's not, do we want Star Trek? Do we want a future that is bright? Do we want all the things that SpaceX says? You know, Elon says, like, you want a future that you wake up to. Doing both of those things is the way to do that. You know, SpaceX wants to spread the light of human consciousness. That's awesome. That's great. I want them to succeed more than probably most people here. But I also want NASA to be at the forefront of this, collecting science and data and understanding for the public record. Because that's the most sustainable way forward. The only way this works is with both entities. In fact, the reason why I can sit here and talk to you guys about a big stainless steel tube getting moved 500 feet around on the southern tip of Texas, right, is because SpaceX was successful because they worked with NASA. Now, don't get me wrong, SpaceX is very successful on their own merit, and I'm not trying to take away from what SpaceX's effort is. No, absolutely not. They ran with it. Good for them. Everybody should have done that. What the hell's Starliner doing? Boeing had an opportunity to potentially be doing stuff like this, and they were like, no, I'm good. Oh, my thrusters don't work. Right? There was a very specific set of circumstances which allowed SpaceX to be successful. People had tried doing commercial spaceflight in the past. People that weren't stupid. John Carmack tried it with Armadillo Aerospace in the 90s. Beale tried it before him. Conestoga tried it before they did in the 80s. A lot of people have failed trying to do commercial spaceflight ventures. And SpaceX almost did as well. The circumstances that allowed SpaceX to thrive was because they had a space station, a NASA facility to go to. If there was no space station, SpaceX would have failed a long time ago. Even Elon has said this. NASA bailed them out. Well, not bailed them out. They bought services from them, and those services thankfully worked. See what I'm saying? If we do both of these things, right? So NASA establishes a moon base. They build the moon base, right? And then they have SpaceX say, like, resupply their moon base, right? While NASA focuses on doing scientific research on their moon base. Or they get somebody else to do it, like Blue. Or maybe even Rocket Lab in the future, right? Every time you do something like this, you have an anchor facility that's anchored for scientific research, that's pushing the forefront and pushing the boundaries of human space exploration. That gives an opportunity for the commercial industry to grow and to thrive. The only way this works is with both of them. With NASA and SpaceX, or NASA and Blue, or NASA and Rocket Lab, or NASA and Relativity, or NASA and Stoke. Pick one. That's the only way this works. Unless you want your commercial launch company to just launch spy satellites for the rest of their tenure. I mean, sure. ABL seems to like to do that. You know, ABL pivoted from launch services to missile technology, and I guess that's fine. That's all good. It's all fine and dandy hey, whatever you need to do to make money. But we have to go forward with both of these things.
This is space.
That's why
I'm
it's
in space.
imperative. It is imperative that Rook fixes NASA. That's so goddamn important. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all super serious on you. I got the crazy eye thing going. I know. Hey, 187, thanks, man. Thanks for the 5 subs. I appreciate it. Thanks, dude. You didn't need to do that, but I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. Sure, Bob. I mean, yeah. When are they deorbiting the ISS? 2030 is when it's scheduled to deorbit. Guys, this is so ridiculously important. We're so close to not even having SpaceX. That's what I'm saying, man. The only scenario where SpaceX gets to the point where they're doing this is because we had public and private partnerships. That is so important. But people often get confused. If you're a SpaceX fanboy and you're watching this, well, first of all, dude, I want Starship. I want Flight 9 to work as much as it sucks what happened to 7 and 8. I'm pissed. That sucks. They'll fix it. I know SpaceX will fix it. They're freaking SpaceX. Of course they'll fix it. They're just going to be like, all right, fine, we'll quit now. It's fine, whatever. Falcon's good. Yeah, you think that's going to happen? Hell no, that ain't happening. Right? No, not a chance. But the only reason we even got to this point is because SpaceX had something to go to. They had the ISS to go to. Now, that doesn't mean that SpaceX should do all the work. NASA seems to be very, very obsessed with public-private partnerships, like a laboratory rat hitting a feeder bar to get a food pellet. Like, that's the answer. It's not the answer. The only reason that this worked is because the ISS existed. Say whatever you want. It's the truth. So, the only way this works is if we build out Artemis to build a gigantic, like a moon base. Not something like Gateway. What is this? This little wimpy station? No. We need something that needs a logistical line setup. Right? NASA builds the thing. SpaceX maintains it. Or a private partnership maintains it. That's the only way this really works. Or at least historically has worked. That's so ridiculously important, dudes. What is your opinion on ideas for what we should do with the ISS? What do you think is likely? Get rid of it. Get rid of it. It's from the 80s, dude. It's 40 years old. Get rid of it. Build another one. Or get some of those modules back down, maybe put them in a museum. Build another space station. Tell me we can't do that? The next space station I think that everyone would support is a space station that is built for the express purpose of figuring out if a rotating artificial gravity station is viable. See, Freedom Boy, your ignorance to spaceflight history is showing. They tried this with the Gemini program in the 60s. It works. We already know it works. Seriously. A Gemini docked to an Agena target vehicle. They got out, tied a freaking rope to the Agena, tied another rope to the Gemini capsule, undocked, and then started spinning them around. Yeah. Oh, yeah. People don't know that. Dude, there's somewhere out there, there's video of that, and it's like, it's either the coolest thing you've ever seen or you're going to blow chunks watching. You're like, oh, God, no. However, what would be more interesting is a station that simulates 38G. We don't need 1G for humans to have, like, to mitigate the long-term health problems being associated with being in microgravity. You don't need 1G. Heck, half a G would be fine. Like 0.5. You don't, i.e. the space station doesn't need to, the space station, if we made a spinning space station, it doesn't need to spin very fast. It's just enough to get the blood to flow in the right direction. I meant doing an experiment if the artificial gravity is good enough to be comfortable. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. They tested it during Gemini because stuff like what was in 2001 A Space Odyssey, they wanted to do all that stuff. We should have, but we didn't. I say we should boost the ISS to a quarter way to the moon and leave it up there. Who's going to maintain it, Mutter? Spinning spaceship. All right, hold on. Cool. Anyway. Wasn't that what Colin did before flying Apollo 11? Yeah, on a Gemini mission. I do believe he flew that with John Young. I think it was Gemini 12 Everest, I think. Guys, look. I want to preserve the ISS as much as the next guy. The best place to preserve it would be down here. If I had my way, I would pitch a contract instead of the US deorbit vehicle, right? Instead of the USDV, right? I would want Starship to disassemble the damn thing. Get a Starship up there with a shuttle payload bay. Should be easy to do by 2030. You could have it remotely operated, or you could have a person on board. A person on board would make it more difficult, right? And just start taking modules off. We probably wouldn't be able to get all of them. You could probably get like node 2. Probably get away with getting node 2. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to undo a lot of things. You'd basically be scrapping the station as you go, which is a little bit dangerous, which is why NASA doesn't want to do that. But also, that could provide some really, really awesome insight into what it takes to recycle stuff on orbit. Just saying. Starship wouldn't be ready to do that by then, no shot. I mean, let's just shoot down every cool idea I have, Cirrus. I'm not saying that. Like, okay. The ideal scenario would be to bring it down and inspect these 40-year-old modules that have been up in space since the 90s, right? How are we going to do that? Starship is a viable avenue. You could use Lofted to do it, but you'd need Lofted with Cygnus. What's the recovery ops looking like that? I'd say that's doable. We could do that too. I think Starship would be a very viable way of doing it. You're testing downmass capability on Starship, right? If it blows up, it blows up. Who cares? You were going to deorbit the module anyway. Who gives a crap? Wouldn't they be radioactive? I don't know. Maybe we should go grab one and find out. Guys, at the end of the day, the ISS is old. Replace it with something else. It's old. Like, look, I want to put stuff in museums and I want to preserve stuff just as much as the next guy. Believe me. I would love it if the ISS could hang next to Discovery in the Smithsonian. That would be awesome. But at the end of the day, dude, it's just going to get to be so much to maintain that thing because it was engineered in the 80s. Guys, the modules in the back of the space station, Zarya and Zvezda and Pirs, those were built when the Soviet Union still existed. They were originally built for Mir 2 in the 80s. The USOS side of the space station was made out of the components that had already been fabricated for Space Station Freedom in the 80s. It's old. Get rid of it. We can build something better. We could heck. All right, here. How about this for a crazy idea? Use New Glenn and Starship to build a better space station. Or better yet, use SLS to do it. SLS could Skylab a station up there. That would be good for all your needs for a very long time. Get rid of it. It's junk. It's old. Even NASA says this. You're getting into tired rant territory at this point. You need a break. Get a drink of water. Hug Titan. What? SLS core stage wet workshop is my pie in the sky wish. We could do that, Aqualex. Okay, what's the technical limitations really of being able to do that? We could do that. That's not like, oh, well, that's a hard thing to do. Like deorbiting modules with Starship. That would be easier. Why can't we 3D print in space? Actually, the ISS does have a 3D printer on it, Sib. If you could have one part only from the ISS, what would it be? The cupola module. Cupola. All day. Oh, yeah. That would look good over my fireplace. Just saying. Actually, I would have it be the chandelier over my dining room table. Yeah, I'd do that. That'd be sick. Canadarm, good call. You don't have a fireplace. How do you know? The cupola, you mean what else? What do you mean what else? It's just what you... What's it like being stabbed? It was the single most painful experience in my life. What was the second most painful? Has any company studied metal 3D printing and vacuum? Yeah, it's doable, Lava. At least I think it is. Why are you getting turnt, man? I was agreeing with you. I'd want the cupola too. Make it a chandelier. Second most painful was pulling the knife out. I'm not getting turns to rat. I'm having fun, believe it or not. This is fun for me. I like it. Give Jack the cupola with a kilt. I don't... How's space news going? It's going all right. There's a little touch and go there for a second, but we're doing good now. Doesn't the cupola have controls for the Canadarm 2 in it? Yeah, there's multiple places where you can control the arm from the station, Galaxy. Yeah. Because remember, the arm can actually operate on the top part of the space station. The cupola faces down. This is all relative to localized orientation on the ISS. There's no up and down in space. I get it. So you can actually control it from Destiny. You can control it from the cupola. You can control it from a bunch of different places, dude. The Kiltpola? I do agree. It's time for the ISS to rest, but not before we have something being assembled. We don't need another dry spell like after the shuttle. That Seahawks, once again. You're right. That's exactly what I mean. There should be a replacement right now. I'd settle for Hadfield's guitar. Nice. Good call. Good call. That's a good one. Anyway. All right, guys. We're getting up on 9 o'clock. That was all the space news. Yeah. The chopsticks on the second pad moved yesterday, too. On pad B, they moved yesterday. And the flame trench is basically ready. The flame trench was basically poured. RGV did have this picture. This was right before they started pouring. You see the pumper truck is right. It's right behind my head. Isn't Vast trying to do that? Sure. What's for after hours? So, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go watch Severance, and I will be back after Severance. We're going to play Workers. I want to keep going. I want to finish out 1961 in Workers. So it's confirmed. The booster's in the garden, gone with the wind. I don't think so, Surat. I think the booster is, they have FOD covers on everything. they have covers all over all the critical components of it. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, it doesn't have any engines on it either. But I'm pretty sure that's just temporary. EJ, who and how much to repair Hubble? I don't know, Outdoorsman. The problem with that is that we don't have an airlock. In order for Hubble to work correctly, you'd need an airlock so people can get out. You can't use Dragon. Dragon doesn't have an airlock. Could Dragon carry an airlock with it? Yes, sure. You'd have to engineer something that goes into the trunk that works. I don't think they have that kind of payload capacity inside of the trunk. It's a complicated mission. I will say we had a vehicle that could do it pretty damn well about 15 years ago, but we decided we didn't want to use that anymore. So you need a vehicle that has all the same capabilities. Also, what the actual heck is going on here? Wait a minute. Hold on. What was that? Oh, just a Jeep. Never mind.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Raven Guard, 60-month resub. Thanks, man. You got your worm. Is that?
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
So reactive to the sub to the boys. Will you get that crap box out of the way? Oh, they're getting in it. Never mind. There's no such thing as just a Jeep. Every Jeep is a unique piece of art. That guy knew. Waluigi! Ah! Oh, boy. So, every Jeep is just a unique piece of art? Yeah, S. It's called lawn art. Because it doesn't run. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. Anyway, all right, that was a little weird space news. Sorry, I got a little preachy there for a second. I don't mean to get too preachy. I like to have a good time. But also, space is important. I don't think I need to repeat myself. But in case I do, space is important. We should do more of that. It's important. Enjoy Severance. Don't spoil Win Beaver. Timberborn next week. Guys, after Severance, I'm going to come back and we'll play Workers until the L57 launch. I want to watch that booster get turned around. That booster, the booster that's launching tonight is only launching on its 4th flight, but it flew last week for the Sphere X Punch mission. Last week. I want to see this launch. We'll stay up for this one. So, I'll see you guys then. I'll be back for after hours. We'll keep playing, keep doing some Workers. Should be good. I do agree with the ISS takes, just not the memes. Seriously, honestly, at the end of the day, like, okay, you really want my honest opinion, you really want my honest opinion, find something to get it back down. We spend so much time splitting hairs. Not you and me, like the space program. Figure it out. I don't know, you're NASA. Figure it out. Maybe you should figure it out. Maybe you should figure it the frick out. Well, you don't know how to get this 400-ton station back down. If you can't do that, you're not going to Mars. Hell no. Get the stupid thing back down. Bring it home. I don't care how. Figure it out. We don't have the industrial base for deorbiting things anyway. It's just gross. That's gross. This shit is gross. That shit is gross. Say it. They tried to kill my space program. Be real, son. Be real, son. The guy tried to kill my father. All right, I'm done. I'll see you guys in an hour. Guy bought aluminum tubes. To tell you what the frick you can do with an aluminum tube? Aluminum. All right, I'm leaving. I'll be back in a little bit. Well, I'll be back for after hours. Let's go. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thanks for watching.